YouTube? Coming back at you again with another video. Now this video is not about the plants I'm showing you. I just thought I'd show you how well they're doing in the self-wicking buckets. Now this is that last video I showed. This one's the black cherry tomatoes, to where it looked really sad. It's doing a lot better. Now this one you saw in a video of my secret way of planting tomatoes. And then that one's my poblano peppers, that one's my banana peppers, and then back behind is my rocket tomatoes with a tree in the middle of it. Get rid of that, we don't need that in there. Yeah, those are my rocket tomatoes. And over there, which is going through my pepper plant, as you can see, is my yellow watermelon. And it's got lots of blooms on it, all over the place. They're all doing really well. I really like this self-wicking bucket technique. Well, you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but you can see how tall my pepper plants have gotten. And they're both that way. And they have lots of flowers on them. A couple flowers on my tomatoes, but they really haven't started producing yet. But when they do, I'm sure they're going to take off too. Now, basil looks a little sad. It needs a drink. Same with my okra, but check out my okra. I've got lots of okra coming up on it, and there's still a bunch of flowers. This is my first time doing okra, and it's doing pretty good. But that's not what this video is about. I just thought I'd show you on how well they're doing in these self-wicking buckets. That they do work. And I water them once every 2 weeks because they have the water reservoir at the bottom. But anyways, back to what this video is supposed to be about. This video is another installment of what I like to do with a big box of apples. Now the first one you saw me do was applesauce. The second one you saw me do, part 2, is apple chips. So this one is part 3. Now we'll go gather our things and I'll tell you what we're going to do today. Oh, and I did make a video on how to build these self-wicking buckets. So if you want to see how I built them, go back and find the self-wicking bucket video, and I completely show how to build one of these self-wicking buckets. They work great for vegetables, flowers, anything like that. Yeah, you could just do them differently, but you'll have to go back and watch that video if you want to see how I built these self-wicking buckets. Okay, I gathered all my stuff. Now this is going to be part 3, as I said before. Now what we're going to do today is we are going to peel and core all the rest of these apples because they are starting to look a little sad. So we're going to take care of them before they get any worse. Now they do look sad, but it's okay. They'll still work for this recipe, just as long as they're not like too far gone. It'll still work. So we are going to peel and core these apples, and I'll show you the next step and tell you what we're going to be making with them when I come back. Okay, I've got the whole rest of that box of apples peeled and cored. Now the cores and the peels are going into our worm farm to help feed our worms for when we do our daycations in the mountains, for when we go fishing at the lake. So let me wash my hands, take all this stuff inside, and I'll tell you what we're going to be making and the next step. Okay, we're back inside now. Now, there was a lot more apples in the box than I expected, so you can expect at least 2 or 3 more installments of what I do with a big box of apples videos. But for now, today we are going to make spiced apples. Now, all you need for these is, of course, apples. some brown sugar. I like using light brown sugar. It has a better flavor. And then some cinnamon. Now this cinnamon I used in my last apple video when I made apple chips. So this cinnamon sugar will work just fine for this one too. So that's all you're going to need for this one. Let me get set up and I'll show you the next part. Okay, now if you want to see how I peeled and cored these apples, go watch part 1. I completely demonstrate on how to do that, on how I did that. It's common sense, but whatever. Now the only thing for this recipe that we're going to have to do is kind of chunk up these apples. They don't have to be super small, but you don't want them too big, so they all sort of cook the same. So you just want to cut them somewhat chunky so they hold up when you put them on your ice cream or in later recipes I'll show you. So you just want to, not super big, but not little tiny. Just, it doesn't matter, it's just as long as they're cut up a bit smaller. So you just want to cut them up about this size. This is a good size for this recipe. So I am going to cut the rest of that bowl, all of that pan, put them in that pan, and I'll show you the next step when we come back. Okay, I've got all of those apples chopped. As you can see, they are not uniform size, they're more like rustic size, which is perfectly fine. So they're all in this pan ready to go. I'm going to turn the pot on high and I'm going to add a bunch of water. This process is pretty much the same as when I made applesauce in my part 1 video. The only thing different is at the beginning I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon in so it kind of cooks into the apples. Now the other different thing is that we're not going to quite cook them as long. Now we are going to stop cooking them when they start to get tender. Now in the applesauce we did it until it was pretty much mush and falling apart. This we're just going to cook until they start to become tender. So we're going to let this go for a while. I'm going to come back a couple times and stir it, and I'll show you when we have the finished product. Well, not the finished product, but the product where we go to put the brown sugar in and probably some more cinnamon. Okay. Let's give them a check and a stir. You can see that they have changed color a little bit. They've gotten a little more translucent-y look. Excuse me. Now, they have gotten a lot softer. You see how soft they are now? But we don't want to make a mush like if we were making applesauce. So at this point, I am going to put in some brown sugar. Now I am going to put in about half of this bag, since this is such a such a big thing of apples. Now if I need more, I'll add more later, but for now this is all I'm going to add. Now if you don't want that much sugar in it, then don't put that much sugar in it. You can use regular white sugar too, but I like to use brown sugar. I think it makes it taste really good. I'm also going to add a little bit more cinnamon sugar. so that way it gets a lot of spice in it to make it the spiced apples. Now give this a stir. Let all that sugar melt and the cinnamon get all melded together with the apples. You can see that it's changed a lot. Now you can see that there is a lot of liquid down at the bottom. So from here on, I'm not going to put the lid on. I'm going to try and let some of that liquid thicken up a little bit, evaporate, condense, whatever you want to call it. Now if it doesn't, I will pour some of this off into a separate pan and thicken it that way. But hopefully it will just do it naturally here. So I'm not going to put the lid back on it. We're going to let this go for a couple more minutes, see how the liquid's doing, and I'll show you after that. Okay, I think we are done. As you can see, it's coming to a nice roving boil. Now, if you want this sauce to be thicker, you can let it go a little longer. Just be careful because it will burn easily. I did add the rest of the brown sugar packet to it because I tasted the juice and it just wasn't quite right yet. So always taste it, make it to your preference. If you want it less sugary, then put less sugar in. If you want it more cinnamon, then put more cinnamon in. Make it to your preference. This isn't an exact science. But the sauce will thicken up as it cools too because of all the sugar that's in it. Now, if you want it thicker and you don't... Sorry, that's my phone. Now, if you do want it thicker and you don't want to stand here and wait for it to condense down, you can add a little cornstarch slurry to it, which is just cornstarch mixed with a little water. And when it comes to a boil like this, you stir it in, and it will thicken it even more for you if you want it thicker. Now, this would be great over ice cream. I'm going to show you 2 other recipes later that deal with this part of the apples. So for now, let me put some in a bowl and I'll give you a try. Okay, I've got some in a bowl for you. Now how about having a try? Careful, it's still hot. So what'd you think? Still a little hot, but pretty good, huh? So that is my spiced apples. That is one of the things I like to do with, just what I like to do with a big box of apples. This is number 3. You'll have to go back and watch 2 and 1 if you're curious on what the heck I made. Now please stay tuned for more apple videos. I think I have 3 more to go on what I like to do with a big box of apples. There's a lot of things I like to do, but this was just number 3. There's, I believe, 3 more to go. So please stay tuned for more apple videos. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Ring that notification bell to get notified every time I post. I post twice a week. So you'll get all kinds of different content from my channel. Thanks to those who have subscribed and stuck around this long. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next time on Just What I Do.